Election day was yesterday and voters across the country headed to the polls.
Voters had a lot of responsibility this year because they decide the national political landscape and the direction of the Democratic Party a year into Biden's presidency. Harley Hunsaker is in studio to tell you everything you need to know. Harley?
Yes, Emily, you're right. This election cycle is very telling on the nation's political climate, and the outcome of the Virginia governor race proves just that.
On day one, we're going to work.
Republican Glenn Youngkin won the Virginia governor's race early this morning. Youngkin's win rolls back progressive gains in the state as Youngkin becomes the first Republican to win statewide office in Virginia since 2009. His opponent, Democrat Terry McAuliffe, had hoped to win a second non-consecutive term by tying Youngkin to former President Trump. Youngkin praised Trump early in the race, but successfully kept him at a distance. A winner in New Jersey's race has not been announced, but much like in Virginia, it might not turn out the way Democrats expect. Incomplete returns show Republican candidate Jack Chitterly and current Democrat Governor Phil Murphy were separated by about 1,200 votes out of more than 2.3 million cast. Murphy has been leading in the polls, has a 1 million voter registration advantage, and had more cash in his campaign than Chitterly in the final days of the race. But the Republican has far surpassed the Republican nominee from 4 years ago in fundraising and has seen the gap in public polls move in his favor, if only by a few points. Now, if we take a look at Boston, Democrat Michelle Wu will become Boston's next mayor after her more moderate challenger conceded. Wu's win makes her the first woman and person of color elected to the top post in the city's history. Last night, Wu said to a crowd of supporters, quote, "From every corner of our city, Boston has spoken. We are ready to meet this moment. We are ready to become a Boston for everyone." Democrat Eric Adams has been elected as the second black mayor in New York City's history. He defeated Republican Curtis Sliwa in Tuesday's general election. Adams is a Brooklyn native who serves as its borough president. The retired NYPD captain embraced a public safety message for his campaign. He won a chaotic Democratic primary this summer on a promise to both beef up and reform the NYPD amid worries over a rise in violent crime. And lastly, voters in Minneapolis rejected a ballot measure to overhaul the police department. The initiative was drafted amid the national fury over George Floyd's murder by a police officer. However, the majority of voters were concerned that the initiative was not specific enough, and they were not willing to simply put their faith in the elected officials to make those wanted changes.